Hello, welcome to Exec On AI, the podcast by exec for exec working on AI. Today we're receiving François Rouhban.
Bonsoir Nabila, I'm really pleased to be here. I feel privileged. Thank you for having me today. And I'm happy to answer your questions.
We're so excited to have you here. I mean, HR in AI, it's not a topic discussed by a lot of people, so it's going to be really niche, it's going to be really interesting. Really excited to have this conversation. So François, you are head of digital in an HR division and trainer for HR executive. Can you tell us more about what you do and your role with AI?
Yes, my name is François Rouhban. I'm an expert on digitizing HR function since 25 years.
Wow.
And I'm digital HR manager at Louis Vuitton, at the HR department of Louis Vuitton. And I'm also lecturer at the Paris Dauphine University and also Sciences Po, Sciences Politique, Executive Education, where I'm teaching on digital transformation, especially on HR function, but more generally on the impact of internet and the digital on the organization, the way they work, the way we work and we collaborate and we cooperate.
So really prestigious school in France for guys there that don't know the schools. In terms of AI, what's your experience like? For how long have you been playing with it?
So in the HR function, we are using AI since decades because it's provided within the software we use. For instance, to sort the resume of the candidate, there is functionalities appealing the technology of AI. So we are using AI in the software, but we also have the impact of Gen AI since the public launch of ChatGPT in November 2022. And as HR, we have to integrate this technology in our operations. And that's what I'm doing.
So that's super interesting because you've been using machine learning and AI for a really long time, since 1997. I think we are talking about machine learning and this kind of technology. But also we were discussing before, like this new wave of, hey, AI Gen is coming and what does it mean for our businesses? What is the feedback that you're receiving internally, and maybe what use cases have you implemented in the last year?
So I can highlight two use cases.
Awesome.
On those two kinds of AI we are talking about. About the Gen AI, we are training all the recruiters to use the Gen AI in order to produce job offers.
Okay.
And the idea is to help them in the prompting, so we can make sure that the job offers are compliant with regulation, inclusive. We also make sure that it is aligned with the cultural code of the company.
Love that, yeah.
And also, we make sure that the prompt will produce a job offer that is having all the rubrics, all the unit of information required for a job offer, such as the experience, the education level, or the mission, the key duties, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So the idea was to help the recruiter, knowing that they will use it. The idea was to help them in using it, using the Gen AI in the appropriate way, in the good way.
Just on that part, it's super interesting because we're not just talking about generating a job description, but we're talking about making sure that this job description aligns with the values, that is not biased, that it's aligned with all the specificities that you need for this job. And it's like a lot to take it into consideration for human beings. So the help of AI is critical there. Awesome.
And that's the point. We consider that Gen AI is like another employee helping the team being better in their business. And that's the way we envision the Gen AI. So it's not something that will replace people. It's something that will augment people in their capability of doing their business.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Have you seen an impact on how better the profile that we're applying were coming thanks to this technology? Or Or maybe another KPI?
To be honest, it's too early to evaluate the impact. But what we can consider is that the company is helping the people in using this new technology. And this is something new. You know, I have 25 years of experience, as I said. 25 years ago, I was working for a company where internet was forbidden. The access to internet was forbidden.
Can't even imagine that.
15 years ago, it was the access to social media that was forbidden. Today, the company mindset has changed. The executive have understand that we have to embrace technology and to use it in the processes, the operation of the company. And there is also a FOMO. If we are not doing it, maybe others will do it. So this is also a contextual situation that we have to take into account.
Especially in the HR industry where competition is so tough.
Yes,
makes sense.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And you know, I would like also to talk about the second type of project that I was highlighting. So we have this kind of Gen AI project. So it's more, you know, training people in how to use the system. And on the other side, we work with vendors that are integrated AI in their solution. So as we said, we've got AI in the functionalities of the software since decade, but there is also new players that are coming with new solution. And I want to take the example of Weliba, which is a solution that is available in Europe since 2 years. And we develop a proof of concept on this solution. The idea is to use AI to collect, based on a survey, the level of engagement and the level of well-being of the employee. So it's based on a survey today. And this survey is analyzed by AI, and the manager is provided with a dashboard. And this dashboard also provide recommendation on concrete action to help the manager in engaging the people of his team and also improving the well-being of the team.
Well, that's
so
huge.
The solution is really appreciated by the manager. So we have the REX,
and
the
we know
return
it's
on
working.
experience, and the feeling of the manager is that the recommendations are very realistic, very contextualized. So they can really activate the recommendation in their team. So this is really a good asset that comes with AI.
So basically what we're saying, we're taking a technology from the market, we can implement it into a company, and then based on a survey, know how employees are feeling, and based on their feeling, get some recommendation on action we can put in place as a manager to help them feel better in the company.
And this is new services that today HR is not providing. Today HR, you know, recruit, evaluate the performance, train people,
career development,
etc. And now with technology, AI, but also Web3 technology, we will have the opportunity to develop new service. You know, we're always saying, HR are always saying, we want people to be actor of their own development.
I've heard that.
We want to have manager as really HR partner to develop the people of their team. Based on that, we apply processes that are not really targeting in the real life, that are not helping in experiencing my own career development or my capability to develop the team or to develop my team with the system. With the new technology that we are implementing now, we will have the capability to develop new services and to make a manager real actor of the HR function.
I love that. Well, all managers out there, it exists. So please check it out, because I want to feel better in the company.
And it's not
so cool.
It's not really you know, sci-fi. It's not science fiction.
It's real.
It's really operational.
Yeah, I know it takes a lot of efforts. Like when I see my company, they're doing a lot of efforts, and it takes so much time to really understand how people are feeling, so much survey, so much brainstorming. So it's great to know that tools can help you perform better. I'm also thinking in HR particularly, you do have a lot of legislation, risk mitigation, a lot of things to consider in your business. How do you balance that with innovation and, try to keep up?
Well, we are also in a market.
Yeah.
We are company in a market.
Yeah.
And as I told you before, we have to take into account the context. So regulation is a no-brainer. We respect the law.
Yeah, for sure. But it's hard. It's harder and harder, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's complex.
Yeah.
And AI or this kind of technology is helping the HR function to comply
Yeah.
with the local regulations, especially.
Yeah.
We produce a lot of documents and information, legal documents, such
Yes.
as the employment contract, also disciplinary information. For instance, we produce text to qualify dysfunctional behavior.
Yeah.
Based on that, we can engage disciplinary action. So we have to qualify things really cautiously.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So this is not new. HR function
Yeah.
is always doing things with the respect of the regulation. What is new and what we have to consider now is all the ethical way of using this technology.
Yeah.
And today, regarding the context, regarding the fact that we are also in a FOMO, a fear of missing out, I consider that we are not really taking into account the sustainable impact or the social impact of the technology. Today, it's too early to evaluate how we can consider this dimension.
So we know that there are some best practices, for example, making sure that the data is clean and not, because it's all based on data, right? So if you don't input the right data, then the result will take more energy and more resources. So there's that, there's the server, there are all the, like you were saying, on a job description, when you ask an AI to generate that for you, you will give them like, what's your value as a company, what's your ethic and this kind of thing. So it's true that we have some foundation, but not necessarily today. It's not necessarily something that people do or think about. So that's one of the reasons of this podcast, actually. So thanks for highlighting that.
Well, and I agree on the fact that today it's really difficult to evaluate the impact of the technology on the operations.
Yeah.
And as I said, it's not anymore possible to ignore the technology.
Absolutely.
We have to use it because everybody is using it. So it's critical.
You have to try it. So one question I had for you, especially because of your background, and so he's a big advocate for AI in HR particularly, and I love that we're talking specifically in this niche because there's so much to do. So for the context, HR is a kind of a job where, and we've been talking about this before, where things are done in a particular way. We can consider school a little bit similarly, like, we've always been studying the same way. What's your advice when you coach or when you train HR executives? How can you help them do differently when they've been doing all their life the same way?
This is the difficulty that we are facing at the moment. The launch of ChatGPT in November 2022 created a stress of the HR function. We all know that something new is happening. We all know that we have to adapt.
Yes.
The fact is, to be honest, HR function is risk adverse. Every decision that you take has a human impact.
Yes.
So you have to be very cautious on what you are doing, what you are deciding. And that's why we are running processes since 30 years, how to recruit, how to evaluate the performance, how to train people. And we're slowly moving. At the moment, we can see that this speed is not enough. We have to adapt more fastly.
Faster.
And what the HR function is looking is new model. And that's why I'm here, in fact. It's to help HR executive to consider new models and to consider their organization and to see how their organization can adapt to the new model that we will have in the coming years.
So when we talk about model, I'm sorry, I'm going to ask more questions because I like to be really pragmatic and
I'm here for that.
appreciate it. Thank you so much. So when we're talking about models, what are we talking about?
Well, this is, as I explained you just previously, when we recruit, we push a job offer.
Yes.
And we push it on the career website, and we wait for candidates.
Yeah.
So we know since 10 years that we have to change that because there is the digitalization.
Yeah.
And if we wait for a candidate, we will not get the candidate that we need.
Exactly.
We will not get the employee that we need. So we have to change that and to look for the people we will need in a few years or few months, and to anticipate the contact so they can imagine working for us before being candidate, with pushing personalized content to them, using all what the company are using for their customer.
Yeah.
We should use it for the candidate that we want to target.
So we're talking about HR branding? It's
a VP, employee value proposition, HR branding, etc.
Okay.
So this move for the recruitment is just an example of how we have to change our practice. We are not passive, just pushing open position on a career website. We have to be proactive. And to be proactive in the appropriate manner, we have to use AI to highlight the way to be accurate, to target the appropriate candidate for the job that we have open.
Love that. Actually, I've been in the market for 20 years now, and maybe it worked the first year of my employment, but since then, like, it never worked for me. Everything was about relation, connection, and
And look, evaluation of the performance. Today, you have a manager defining objectives for your development. And at the end of the year, you have the yearly meeting, professional development, and we are evaluating what are your objectives, did you achieve the objective? Why not using AI to help the manager and the employee defining the objective based on the willing for development, based on the need of the team, based of the target of the company, etc., etc.
Oh, yeah.
So we can use the technology to develop the capacity of the manager to himself or herself, develop the capacity of the employee. This is really virtuous.
This is so inspiring because coming back to what you were saying earlier, take the ownership of your path, you own your career. Yeah, we do, but we're also super busy doing our career. And so working on the ground, most of the time we don't have time to work on our career. So it's either one or the other. Doesn't mean that we don't want to grow. It's just that we don't have time to think about it or plan it.
And it's also an expertise to identify what is the competencies that I'm developing, what can I do with these competencies, what is the next job that I could target. So we should be helped, and the technology can do that.
I love that. So what was the first step as a HR, digital expert in HR industry? What would be the first step that you would recommend or that you've done yourself when you wanted to take this new move that you're talking about?
Wow. This is something, again, with HR, we are always cautious because there is human impact. And moreover, we are in a context of attention economy, the economy of attention.
Oh, yeah.
So this economy of attention is for individual impacting us on the social media. This is the same with the vendor coming at our door as a company, trying to sell us solution that we don't need.
Sure.
So my answer to your question regarding how to start with your intention. Facing the economy of the attention, my answer is, what is my intention? What do I need as a company? What is my culture? What are the operations that I will not delegate to AI because it's strategic and it makes my singularity? For instance, the design. Maybe the design should not be done by a robot.
Yeah.
Or the decision to recruit, maybe the decision to recruit, the last
step.
decision should be done by a human, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And this is something that we have to start. And I think this is the shift that the HR function should do to help the company in identifying what are the operations that should not be delegated to AI.
And I love that. I'm trying to project myself and see how would an exec do that. Is there a best practice? Is there like a framework? Or how do you decide?
As I told you, today there is no model.
Yeah.
So the idea is that HR function should use the technology to improve the operational efficiency of all the processes, as we said, using a software solution already on the market.
Yeah.
And on the other side, there is a new activity that HR function should develop, which is working on the intelligence as an asset, not working only on human resource, but also working on intelligence, emotional intelligence, collective intelligence, artificial intelligence, and trying to manage this intelligence as an asset to make sure that all the people within the company can work together, can collaborate, cooperate, activate the collective intelligence, manage their emotional intelligence, develop their relational intelligence, and also use AI.
Interesting. So I'm not an HR, so it's kind of a different world for me, but I'm trying to keep up. Basically, what we're saying is, so the intention should be based on your personal objective as an HR. And so part of this is making sure that you have all the infrastructure and environment to help individual develop, collectivity develop, and AI help. These two things, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is something that we have to operate at the executive level because we have to ensure that we have the support of the executive to address this dimension of the company as an asset, so manage the intelligence as an asset. And also we have to work with the teams to understand what can be operationally effective, efficient in the using of this technology.
Love that part about working with the teams, collaboration. Like this is not a top-down topic, definitely. I know from my experience, you've seen a lot of things, a lot of projects. So I'm also curious, because we were talking about the fact that HR is different jobs. So you have to develop your people, you have to make sure they feel good, you have sometimes some disciplinary topics. Is there maybe one specific area or maybe several specific areas where automation or machine learning can be particularly helpful?
I could say payroll. Trying to make sure that the pay will be monthly or weekly accurate is a real job that is not very interesting, to be honest, because it's a lot of regulation, local regulation, and that could be completely delegated to a robot.
Well, God. Easy busy. Love that. I'm going to move a little bit towards processes and how do we actually do something with positive impact and try to be ethical and align with our business value. I know this is something that is close to your heart. Would you have any, like, again, return from experience or feedback to share on how to have this positive impact?
Well, I'm coming back on intention. You know, recently you may have heard about the launch of DeepSeek.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So this is the AI, the Gen AI coming from China. And there was a funny game of tricking the Gen AI on the politic concern, so prompting, is China a democracy? And we can see that the answer is censored.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we are focusing on DeepSeek, but it's revealing that ChatGPT is also culturally and politically developed. All the billion of parameters are cultural.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why we have to come back as a company. We have to come back on our culture. What is the culture code that we want to implement when we are using the system.
I'm cautious of your time. I know we're running late, so I'm going to conclude now, but it was super interesting, so thanks so much. Maybe just to finish, is there something that you wish you would have known when you started an AI project? Any advice for our people out there?
Well, it's difficult to say. What I'm happy as experiencing today is the possibility that is offered to use this technology within the company with the support of the company.
Yeah.
And this is something different that, as I said, I was living 20 years ago when the internet started. So we can see, and I can see that in all the big French company, you know, I'm working with Orange or L'Oréal or LVMH, and I can see that all the company embrace this technology and try to help the people of the company in using it. And to me, this is really a shift to make sure that we will have appropriate use cases and also ethical concern, because it's collective, collectively that we will develop, you know, the ethical concern. It's not coming from the management.
No, absolutely not.
So we have to do it collectively and to take it as a real concern. And this is what I'm happy with the moment I'm living, because this technology is available and I have the support of my company to use it.
That's great. Just talking about education and how to increase your knowledge, I've seen that you've been trained. So it was a certification, Artifact and Google Gen AI certification. Well done, by the way.
Thank you.
So I'm just curious, is there any course that you would recommend, or any training, or any formation?
Not really. Well, there is a lot of you know, content available on the internet on the way on prompting. I think what we should focus now is the way on analyzing the answer of the Gen AI, because it's okay asking the question. We improve our skills on it. Now it's answering, understanding the answer that should be questioned, because I can see people starting to be like robots, c'est-à-dire copying and pasting the answer. And this is something wrong.
This is so wrong.
But this is something that we will, you know, this will be the general use of this technology. And I can see it with my students.
I hope not. This is why we're doing this podcast. Please don't, guys.
With the student, we can see
it's true. It's true.
They are generating all the, you know,
all the answers and copy paste.
All the answers, all the works that we are asking them to the homework that we are asking them is now done by Gen AI. And we can see there is a vocabulary, the vocabulary crucial. Nobody uses crucial.
So you see it right away.
In French, I don't know in English,
no, it's true.
In French, nobody uses crucial.
So so
and when you can see, you know, the text was crucial, okay.
So
it's generated by AI.
Your student will know, and they'll just remove all the crucial. Please, ChatGPT, just remove.
No, you know what we do at Paris Dauphine? We ask the student to use the Gen AI, but to tell us what is the prompt, what is the LLM they use,
that's clever.
And also how do they get appropriate with the answer in their work.
Embracing your time, love that. I'm just going to finish with one last question. That's going to be my final. Regarding tools, what are the tools that you are personally using or in your business? So
we are using NeoBrain, which is a solution that helps evaluating the performance of the employee and developing career paths. There is SAP, which is the main actor of the market on HR solutions, such as Oracle and Workday. That are the three big players, and all have AI inside.
Included, Awesome. So that will be the main tool that you are using. You've been talking about ChatGPT a little bit as well.
Yes, I'm using ChatGPT every day to create the quizzes that I'm pushing to my students.
Awesome.
So and elaborating the lessons, the course. So I'm using it personally to have answers as a search engine. Now it's really everyday use. And I know that there is sustainable impact on this. So maybe we will have to regulate that. But at the moment, this is so easy, so accessible.
And you've tried Perplexity or Claude or any other
Yes,
AI
I
tool?
tried, but really, I'm not really like a geek investigating in solution. I'm just
When it works.
using the best of breed, and I'm using it daily. I don't want to be really, as an expert on the solution.
No, absolutely.
I want to be an expert on the use.
Coming back to the intention.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there we go. Thank you so much for being here. That was lovely.
Merci, merci Nabila. It was a real pleasure to be with you today.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. That was great. That's it in the box.